Welcome to the Wellness for Women show, where we talk about life, weight loss and everything in between. I'm Faye Caseman, founder of the AAA Way Life and Weight Loss Programme, and I'm here to help you put together the pieces of life and weight loss for one last time. This is an episode of the Wellness for Women show, filmed live in the free Facebook group.
So today I'm going to talk about awakening awareness. So you're keen to get going on weight loss or whatever change process you want to be undertaking right now, and you wanted to be there already. You wanted to have lost your weight and be at your goal weight, and yeah, you're just desperate to get going. But getting going without knowing where you are right now is like throwing spaghetti at the wall. Would you build a house without a good foundation? No, of course you wouldn't. So this video is going to show you and tell you how to build the foundations to set yourself up for success. And if you watch until the end, I'll let you know how you can get your hands on a free resource that will help you to identify your current relationship with food and weight loss. So for those who don't know me and are catching their first instalment from me, I am Faye Caseman, founder and coach of AAA Way membership, Your Life, Your Weight Loss, Your Way. I have lost over 65 pounds and I've done it all without feeling restricted by crappy diet rules, and I'm now helping other women do the same. So if you're watching this, then I'm guessing that you are interested in losing weight and changing your life. You want to lose weight, you know it would change your life, but for some reason there's something holding you back. It could be from not knowing where to start, or having too much on your plate at work, or right now it's just like feeling like giving up would be easier than trying. So maybe you are on a diet right now, but you're finding it hard to stick to plan and follow the complex rules that you've got. Maybe you're sick of feeling like you can't have your cake and eat it, literally. And this is where the principles that I teach in the AAA Way membership can help. So I told you last week that I was going to share insights over the next few weeks into the modules within my signature course. What I didn't tell you was that they are also the roadmap to food freedom and losing weight in a sustainable fashion without dieting and without feeling restricted. And so the first module in that is awakening awareness. So in this module, I teach my members all about the importance of gaining initial awareness as they set off on their path of change. So I help members identify the things that have been holding them back and help them to start looking at things that they may never have looked at before. So by going through the workbook that's connected to that model and accessing coaching, they get a better understanding of themselves and their potential weight loss journey to come. And I help my members to identify their things like their current self-view, their values, their current relationship with food, what food freedom would mean for them personally, how to step into your future self. We look at pain and pleasure, identifying their why power, and lots more. And ultimately it's the kind of thing that can just get added to, but that's what's in there at the moment. And what I want to focus on today, in order to try and help all of the listeners here, is to focus on your current relationship with food. So leave me a note in the comment, maybe a little tick icon or something like that if you've ever looked at any of this before, or across if this is something that's new to you. So have you ever looked at your relationship with food? So I would say that most dieters, we start off with a diet plan full of hope, grand ideas about how this time it's going to be the time, it's going to be different. We're going to stick to this new regime no matter what. All I need to do is just eat the food that I'm told, the right foods, and do the exercises that I'm given. Simple, right? Wrong. Weight loss is not as simple as that. For a short-term fix, maybe, but in the long term, what happens when you get sick of a stringent regime? You go back to your old diet ways and likely believing that you're a failure. And the problem, though, is that it's not you. It was the approach. For lasting weight loss, it's not about what you eat or how much you exercise. For lasting change, you need to tackle weight loss by looking at yourself as a whole person, and your relationship with food is part of this. So ultimately, you are more than what you eat and more than the exercise that you do. And so this module aims to help my members identify all of those pieces. So what I want to run through with you now is a mini version of one of the exercises that I have in the membership, because I think it would be really helpful for you. So let me share my screen again, if I can find the button. Okie dokie. Share face. There we go. And I am Diddy again. So when it comes to losing weight and identifying your relationship food, it's likely that identify your relationship with food. It's likely that you have a love-hate relationship with food. You know, on the one hand, you absolutely love the way that food makes you feel. It's comforting, enjoyable, and satisfying. And then on the other hand, you hate how some foods make you feel. You can feel bloated, uncomfortable, and sometimes ashamed at what you're eating. And so for many dieters, this love-hate relationship leads to a lot of confusion and indecision. You want to be able to enjoy your food without feeling guilty or ashamed, but yet you also want to lose weight. And it's likely that you're going to be currently thinking that you can't have both, or without making some, a lot of adjustments to your life, maybe, or the way that you eat. So you find yourself in this never-ending cycle of yo-yo dieting, where you bounce back and forth between restrictive dieting and episodes of overeating. And if this is you and you find yourself in that situation, it's important for you to realize that that confusion and indecision likely stems from one of two things. So either you are only trying to change your body, but not your relationship with food. So basically you're trying to willpower your way through it, or you are trying to change them both at the same time. And either way, conflict is going to ensue, and you'll find it hard to find a lasting solution with these traditional diet methods. So it's obvious that in order to lose weight, you do need to behave differently to what you always have done, to get a different outcome. So you will need to work on looking at ways to perhaps reduce your current intake. Yet on the other hand, you don't want it to suck, and it doesn't need to. That's the key thing here. And you can learn to relax around your favorite foods and still lose weight. And the solution is that you first have to change your relationship with food, and likely yourself, before changing your body. And once you've got good at treating yourself with kindness and respect, and with simplifying the process, losing weight will honestly be no problem. So how do you go about changing your relationship with food? Well, there are two key elements that make up your relationship with food: your current self-view, so where you are now, and your future self-view, so where you want to be. And in this exercise, the aim is to help you to identify some possible thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and triggers about food and weight loss that might be impacting on your journey. So if I go through them now, so in the little workbook that I've put together for you, you've got obviously a little title page, "You're welcome from me," and then pretty much what I just said in the introduction, so that you don't necessarily have to look back on this video, but it will be here in the guide section if you so wish to do so. And so then I've put together a series of questions. What you're going to do is you're going to find somewhere nice and cozy and quiet, settle yourself down with a nice drink, and take some breaths, and just kind of get into the moment and open yourself up a little bit. And then you're going to open your eyes and answer the questions as they come up. What I would say about this is, obviously take your time, come back to it if you need to. It's also the kind of exercise that you can do. So I'm saying do it before you start weight loss or weight loss journey, but actually, it's something that's helpful to do periodically throughout your journey. So again, if you're working on weight loss, whether that's through my methodology or somebody else's, I still very much have a go at this exercise. So let me know if you want a copy of it. Just leave me a hashtag awakening, and I will get you the link over for the workbook. So going through, first question there is, what is your biggest challenge with weight loss? So what are the biggest sticking points and reasons why you've not succeeded in the past? So maybe, and then look to really dive into what is going on, because I think sometimes the temptation is just to stay at a top level, but obviously the deeper you go, the more you'll find out. So what stories have you been telling yourself about weight loss? We all have them. Back in the day, mine would have been, I can't do it. It's never worked before. I'm just too lazy. I'm clearly not that bothered about losing weight. And the biggest lie that I ever told myself is that I'm fine the way that I am. And in one sense I was, and obviously, anybody who doesn't want to, lose weight, that's absolutely fine. This isn't about bashing anybody of any size. The point is, are you truly happy? If you are truly happy, that is all that's the key. If you're not happy, and if you're somebody like I was, who was telling herself that she was happy but she wasn't really happy, then obviously this is the kind of thing that we can work on. So how would you answer that? Let me know. So then the next question is, well, what stories do you tell yourself about weight loss? So let's say we're going to cover, we've covered off that. So, and then how would weight loss improve your life? So for me, the weight was brilliant, but I probably actually was, absolutely fine the way that I was, but I will be honest that nowadays I do, I do look at the achievement that I've made, and it's not so much, like say, the weight loss for me actually that's been the biggest bonus out of this. It's the increased personal confidence. And again, not because of my size, because you can be confident at any size. The importance is just to be happy, healthy, confident at whatever size you want to be. But because I've achieved something that I just never thought was possible, that's then impacted into my career, because that sort of inner confidence has meant that I've shown up differently, and I will tell my story now, and I'm not as afraid to I'm not as keen to people please as I perhaps would have been a couple of years ago. I've obviously, as you know, I've retrained to be a coach, so that's pretty life-changing, and that's all born out of the weight loss. And I've seen the power of self-development, and as a result, it's helped me through coaching to look at and everything else in my life, relationships, money, that kind of thing. So let's say it's changed everything for me. So the next question is, what's stopping you from having this now? So again, just getting really honest with yourself about, what is stopping you. Maybe actually it's the fact that you're telling yourself that you should be wanting to lose weight, whereas actually maybe you really don't, because sometimes I think, society suggests that we have to, and again, that's not necessarily the case. But if you do identify that you really do want to work on it, or you need to work on it for your health, then, deep dive into what it is that you are, what is stopping you at the moment. And just keep figuring it out, no matter what. We've got all of the answers within ourselves. And then what comes up when you think about food? So for me, back in the day, again, it would have been feeling a lot of guilt and shame when I perceived that I'd overate. I would have foods that I'd call treat food, whereas now it's just food. It would be how I didn't like vegetables. I had this story that I don't like vegetables, which is not true. It's still one that I am working on. That's somehow a really ingrained message that I've got in my brain, that I don't like vegetables. And also, I think about that it can be hard to cook for weight loss. So again, a lot of untrue stories in there, really. Maybe you're somebody who has particularly strong thoughts and feelings with regards to carbs, or certain food groups, so it's really important to identify that, and how that impacts into how you show up. And that links into the next one. So what foods do you think that you should limit or avoid? So again, I've gone through phases where I have thought that carbs and fat were the devil incarnate, but it's not true. I have tried to cut these things out in the past, or I tried to limit food groups. But ultimately, I lost 65 pounds without doing any of that. And I've been so much more happier as a result, ultimately. Now, again, obviously, if you need to cut out food groups because you've got insensitivity or intolerances or medical needs, that's different. And in which case, then that's about working on the mindset that goes with that. And again, it's just about finding out what these rules are that we've created for ourselves and saying, do I accept that decision? So that's the next question. You know, do you accept that decision? You know, do you wish it was different? So I fought against that. Ultimately, that isn't what I wanted. I didn't want a life of restriction in any way, shape, or form. And I would then resent the fact that I felt that I was supposed to do these or should over myself over it. And ultimately that then makes it a non-sustainable way of losing weight. And then how does your relationship with food impact your life? So certainly I would get so caught up in, you know, food and dieting and everything like that, you know, I would have had arguments with partners in the past over diets. You know, if they suggested takeout, all of a sudden they were being super duper insensitive because I was on a diet. I would feel guilty about going out for food and drink to the point when I would then probably have tried to have avoided it if I was, you know, you always have that daily battle about whether you should or shouldn't be doing something. And then maybe I wouldn't have enjoyed socializing as much because I would have had this perception of all the calories that I would have been eating or drinking. And again, it's just that, you know, that daily mind battle that you have about deciding what to eat and debating whether something is good or bad. And that ultimately creates a bit of a low mood and conflicting thoughts and a poor self-view, which can knock into then self-esteem. So, you know, like when you've had you know, perception that you've had a bad day or you've broken your diet or whatever. So again, really important to identify how your current approach to food knocks into your life, and decide, and for you to decide whether that's what you want to keep or not keep. And if not, then let's get working on it. And so next question, if I had a magic wand, you know, what would you like to change? So ultimately, had I had a magic wand back in the day, it would have been that I would have, you know, been a certain size and that I could eat what I want. And ultimately, I have that now. You know, I've got down to, I haven't been the size that I am and the healthiest that I have since I was 18, basically. But where the magic is not in that magic wand. It's the fact that I did it myself. And I've worked for that, and that, like I said, that sense of achievement is amazing. But certainly, like I say, had I had a magic wand, I would have waved that sucker. And then the last one is what would food freedom mean to you? So, you know, it would have meant everything to me. You know, I was so wrapped up in the daily grind of it all, and it was just exhausting. And, you know, I always used to say that it was like, if you're trying to give up smoking, you didn't need it to live, if that makes sense. I appreciate that giving up smoking is hard, but what I mean is, like, you can't get away from food. You have to eat it on a daily basis. And so dieting always felt like I had to give up something that I loved, but yet you couldn't escape the food, and it would just sort of smack you in the face every time you came around to mealtime. But the important thing is that it doesn't have to be like that. You know, we don't have to keep the current relationships with food and weight loss. There is another way in which to get to the same end, but through a much nicer and a much more sustainable path. But once you've identified these issues, I say, you decide, are you going to keep them or are you going to change them? If you're happy to keep them, then you keep them. If you need to change them, you work on changing them. And so this is about identifying your current self-view and where you're currently at, and helping you to identify your eating, you know, some of the patterns that come up in your food and emotional attachments to foods and weight loss. And so, like I say, once you've got that understanding. It just builds a bit of foundation for you to decide about how you want to be going forward. So that was a little bit of an introduction to the awakening awareness. So I'll stop sharing a minute. Oh, maybe I never even shared it in the first place. I don't know. No, I did. It's okay. Oh my goodness me. Okie dokie. So next week we're going to go into module 2, which is gathering awareness, which is where I'll tell you about the only 4 simple steps you need to actually lose weight without counting points, calories, macros, pills, and potions. If you want the workbook, drop me a hashtag awaken in the chat and I'll send you the link. And also something that I am putting together just to make a little bit of an announcement at the end is I am going to make February a month of self-love. So I'm going to be putting together a challenge. I'll pop into the group at some point over the weekend to update you more on what that is going to be. But ultimately, as I say, you know, as dieters, we're used to beating ourselves up on the way. You know, I didn't do this, I should have done that. Whereas when you embrace self-love and doing things from curiosity and compassion, it changes your whole journey. So you still get to where you want and need to be, but you do it all in a much more sustainable fashion and something that feels good along the way. So watch out for that. So just as a repeat, want the workbook, leave me a hashtag awaken. If you're wanting to know more about the membership, reach out to me on Messenger, or I will pop the link in the chat below. And I will see you all next week. Bye.
Thanks for listening. And don't forget, if you want to boost your life and weight loss the AAA way, check out the relevant links for today's show in the description. Speak soon.